Hey
Sweet.
guys, welcome to the Hype Mind. My name is Daniel and I'm here with Bear. And today
What
we're
up?
discussing the importance of being decisive and having an opinion. Being
Yeah.
decisive, having an opinion. It's guys, it's important to be decisive. We're stuck. We have so many options. This is crazy. I love using the restaurant scene or whatever, the menu. You have so many freaking options on the menu. And you're stagnated. You can't make a decision because there's so many. But you got to learn how to make decisions. You know what I do when I go to restaurants? I'm lucky because I'm gluten free, so I have less options. So it's easier to make a decision. But when you can't make decisions in life, it's it's hard for other people to work with you. When you don't have an opinion in
Or
life,
to want to.
yeah, and you don't even know what you want to do. And so it's important to be able to make decisions and not be stuck in nothingness. I give you an example of group of friends who sitting around wasting time because they can't decide what to do together. Um,
Yeah, so they hang out in their living room.
truthfully, I think. Oh, say that again.
They just sit there and hang out in their living room.
Yeah. Uh huh. And it's
Just
unproductive, very unproductive. And someone needs to decide and get get everybody to move and start doing things. And you're stuck in stagnation. I like to say that sometimes the right decision is making a decision, or it's just making a decision. This is when the consequence of stagnation is greater than the decisions themselves.
well, and
So,
to be honest, the consequences is almost always greater than not making a decision. Like no decision
not
is a
right,
decision. And like
not all the time,
to
not all
not
the time, right? Because you're right. No decision is a decision too.
well to not choose all the time is all right. But like most of the time, you end up wasting time.
Right.
You end up
Most of the time, yeah.
wasting
Most of the time,
opportunity.
there is a consequence to not making the decision.
Yeah, you end up with the
That's what
lack
I'm
of
saying.
direction.
Right. When you're sitting there doing nothing, that's a consequence too.
Yeah. Well,
So be able to be decisive, be able to make a decision. A lot of the decisions that people face on a daily basis don't even matter that much. And we put way too much value on them. Way too much on the simple stuff, right? When you just need to make a decision and move on with your life.
yeah. You were talking about how like unattractive it was or difficult. You said it was difficult for people to work with you. And that's super true. I know a lot of times we all do this, whatever. We all got to work on it. But I know a lot of people where, they'll hit me up constantly. They'll be like, "How are you? What are you up to? Like, we got to see each other. We got to do something together." And I'll try to make a decision and they'll be like, "Well, I'm busy this week. Well, I don't know what my schedule is." And I'll be like, "Okay, let me know when you know your schedule, whatever."
Right.
And they'll be like, okay, and then over the next few days they'll be like, what's going on? What's new with you? And I'll be like, let's just hang out. Let's hang out. Let's catch up. Oh, I don't know what my schedule, like
It's
that's it
dude,
right
it's
there. That's the
yeah,
lack of decision
right.
making, right? Because my response to that kind of stuff, this is just my personal experience, is like, go away, leave me alone. If you can't
Right.
figure out when you're
Good. That
free,
should be
let
your
me do my
response.
stuff until you know you're free.
Uh,
And so
our
it
society is affected by that.
it it really, but what you said really resonated with me because I was like, that's so true. I see this all the
Uh,
time with women, and sometimes that's for a different reason, um, and with men who are definitely very
mm,
lost, very lost. I mean, you go to the right page anywhere, and you'll hear it said 100 times.
right, right.
So,
You don't right. You it's if you have some even direction in your life, you got something to work with. When you have no
but
direction, then you don't
even
have
if you don't have a direction, you need to decide. You need to
right.
make decisions
Exactly. That's
because
what I'm saying. Yeah.
making decisions puts you in a direction.
Right. And
Even if it's a bad direction,
even
even
having
if
an
it's a
opinion.
bad direction, it puts you in a place of realizing it was a bad decision so you can make the right decision. And the same goes, like you're saying, with having an opinion. With having an opinion, it's like making a decision. you need to like know who you are. Making a decision helps establish who you are,
Right, right, right,
and you make a wrong decision and you can correct it and make a
right.
better decision
And you
next time.
learn from your failure, right? You
Yeah.
fail and you
And
learn.
having an opinion is the same thing. It's like if you don't have an opinion, you're really not that put together. Like
Hmm.
you don't really know who you are.
You
You
know,
don't really know what you want.
doesn't
Because
mean you need to
know those
like
things, when you know those
infest
things,
somebody with your opinions, but
when
to
you know those
have one.
things, you have an opinion about things, even if they're wrong.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. It's like having it's our society not having an opinion, afraid that they're going to offend somebody with their
With
opinion,
an
afraid they're
opinion.
going to be disliked, right? They're afraid to share their opinion when someone asks. The common thing, a common question I see all the time, it's just an example, but um, is like, "What's your favorite music?" And someone gives you like a general answer. "Oh, I like all kinds of music." It's like, it's just having a conversation. How as a person are you supposed to work with somebody that's like, "Oh, I like everything. Like I don't care about this, that."
What's
It's
your political belief? I don't have
right,
one.
right, exactly.
And we
And
won't talk politics. Move my
yeah,
glass.
I you don't need to have an opinion on everything, but it's like if you're involved in it and 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 you have some thoughts, like don't be afraid if someone asks you to share it. It's something to work with. We're so focused on like conformity and wanting to be same, like the same as someone else, and that someone like us, if they're same or similar. Uh, but it's interesting because I see this in romantic relationships too. Yeah, if they like bowling, they'll like me better if I like bowling too. It's like no, not really. Then they'll want to
Well,
be in a relationship with
hope.
themselves
I
and
mean,
whatnot.
you
So
don't
it's
need
like
to have an opinion on everything, but your opinion,
be comfortable being yourself, being in your own skin, being different.
you don't have to have an opinion on everything, but your opinion is your development. It's like it's your beliefs. Your opinions are you have those opinions, because of your beliefs. And like if you are able to like what you were saying with relationships, like fluctuate, then you don't really know your beliefs. No, I'm gonna pick up bowling because they like it. It's like then you don't really know yourself. Like I could tell you I don't like bowling, and like I'll
Mm,
tell any guy or girl that I'll be like, yeah, I'll go bowling with you once, but I'm not a fan of bowling. Like it's not my thing. I'll do it,
mm,
right? But I don't like it. I'll tell you I don't like it. I'll tell you I don't mind participating, going out with friends or going out with someone to go bowling, right? But I still know myself. I know
right. You're still not going to
I
say,
know
yeah,
my
I
belief
like it.
about bowling. I'm not a fan, and I know that I'm not willing to go bowling every day. And I'm willing to have fun while I go bowling, but I'm not willing to pretend I like bowling for other people, which is what you see happen a lot of times.
Hmm.
And
And if they ask
ultimately,
you, hey, do you want to go bowling? You won't be like, oh, I don't know. It'll be like, I don't prefer bowling. Like,
yeah, exactly. I'll be like,
give me,
no, I
give me your
don't.
opinion. Now I can work with it.
Are there other things we can do? Oh no, you're already going bowling and you have an extra ticket? Okay, yeah, I'll come along. Cool. Next
Mm,
time let's do something else. But what this leads to is no opinion, can't make decisions. Like we said, it's difficult for people to work with you. Well, ultimately, you're not an interesting person because you don't really know yourself. So how can you be interesting if you're not really built upon anything? You don't really have any beliefs, and you have beliefs, but you're not familiar with them. You don't know the beliefs you have, and because you don't know your beliefs, you can't really act on your beliefs. You can't really form strong opinions and strong decision making skills. And ultimately, you become very uninteresting because you're just like a pleaser, or you're just being dragged, you're willing to let yourself be dragged
mhm,
around because you don't have any boundaries because you don't understand your beliefs. And so you're not really interesting.
mhm.
I mean, well, at least in a
Right.
crowd.
I think that people shouldn't like do things to try to be interesting. I think if everybody just follows their path, works on themselves, they will automatically be interesting. This life we live, it is inevitable that you're going to run into uncertainty somewhere and have an interesting story or have an interesting opinion on something like that.
Well,
Um,
that That depends.
Really? You think?
I would say that depends because I I agree with the fact that if you're on purpose, you know what you want to do, you're pursuing it, you're gonna be interesting to somebody. Someone out there is gonna be like,
Hmm.
right. And I'm not just talking from a relationship perspective. Like, yeah, there's gonna be some girls who are interested in that too. There's also gonna be some men who are like, this is my kind of dude to hang out with, etc. You're right. Like if you know what you're doing and you're doing it, people are gonna be like, damn, that's my kind of guy. Or girl, whatever. But at the same time, if you know you're not living an interesting life, you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing, you don't, you're kind of stuck, then I would say, yeah, go do things that you think will make you more interesting, right? But do genuine things, do things you want to do. You're like, if you don't know, go try out basketball, go join a league. If it's not your thing, drop it. Go try out bowling. If it's not your thing, drop it, right? So if you really don't have an interesting life, because there's a lot of people who don't, um, there's a gentleman who talks about this. He's like, some people just work. Like that's no fun. Nobody wants to be friends with someone who only works their entire life. That's true. You got to be able to step away from work, right? You got to be able to socialize, um, and like become cohesive with society to some degree. If your whole life you know what you want, you're achieving it, I would say you would be interesting to some degree. But
Hmm.
it's dangerous because if you spend the whole time working, nobody really only wants to, like, you don't really, I don't think you really are able to connect with people as deeply as you could if you have like side hobbies and interests outside of work. You have to separate yourself from work.
Right, right.
And
Yeah, if you're trying to develop friendships, do the things required, you know,
well,
spend the
that's
time
kind of what I'm
required.
saying, is it's
Be,
necessary.
be able to take the time instead of working to join whatever club, be part of a friend group. Um,
Things that you're interested
interesting. Yeah,
in. Yeah.
be really
but
interesting.
but
Get
I would
involved
say
in
you
other
can
people
live a purposeful
look into
life
that, have an opinion on it.
without being interesting.
Say that again.
I would say you can live a purposeful life without being interesting. Like, um, I just heard this guy talking about this, and he's like, if you're a dude and you want women to want you, and all you do is work and go to the gym, and there was something else, and like hang out with your nerd friends, like he's like, what chick wants to associate with someone who only works, only goes to the gym, and hangs out with their nerdy friends? Like maybe one or two, but like not that many. Like you got to do things that other men and women are going, damn, that's fun. Damn, that's cool. You got to be able to go bowling once every now and then. You got to be able to go dancing once every now and then. You got to be able to get together and go to the city for a day with your buddies or whatever. Like your life has to be a little more, and it depends where you're at, but your
Yeah,
life
I
has to
think
be a little more
that's
than
big.
just
It does.
focused
I agree.
on work all the time.
Yeah.
Because if you really want to do that, that's fine. But I think you're gonna sacrifice. Jordan Peterson kind of talks about this. You're gonna sacrifice your social life if you hyper focus on your health and your work and your purpose. And I'm not saying it's bad to do that. I'm just saying you're gonna have to sacrifice your social life. So just be ready for that.
Hmm. There's times. I think there's times where you need to buckle down and focus on.
Yeah. Oh
Work.
yeah, there are.
And then
But
there's
if you
times
do
where
that,
it's times where you realize you need to have balance in your life and develop some relationships, because you'll find out that having relationships and friendships in your life is important.
right.
You just might need that mentally, um, and emotionally. So it's I think it's super important to just be adaptable, be able to change. Don't get stuck. Just a general message: don't get stuck in your ways. Your ego is always there. It's gonna break down. It's gonna die for a couple of days, and it'll come back, and you have to break it down again. You get stuck in your ways, and you have to always be on top of it. And you'll get stuck working long hours and stuff, and you'll and there'll be a point where it'll where it will affect you, and then you'll have to adapt again.
Yeah.
So always be able to adapt. There could be periods in your lives where you're like super hyper focused on something. That's good, but not forever. I know is Tim Ferriss talks about that a little bit. Being able to switch it up, and people like that kind of lifestyle too. It's like work hard, 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 and then go vacation, like go relax, go make some friends. But that makes your life interesting too. But I don't think you should make it interesting for others. You make it interesting for yourself.
Well, there's definitely, don't misunderstand that. There's definitely times where you have to buckle down and hyper focus on your mission, on the things you need to get done, on the things you need to develop, on yourself, whatever. That might be a long time. Like I mentioned Jordan Peterson, right? And what he had to do was he worked all day, and then he came home and locked himself in his room for like 3 hours and wrote his book, right? And he had basically no family life for a long time, like years, right? Because he knew he had to write this book, and like he had to sacrifice his family life. And some people would argue that that was inappropriate, and I'm not sharing an opinion. I'm just stating this is what he did because this is what he felt like he had to do. So yeah, sometimes you do have to, like, you really have to put your nose to the grindstone, and you have to buckle yourself down to the grindstone. And maybe it's for a long time, and maybe that means you sacrifice, socializing and a social life. Um, that might be the case. Hey, if that's what you think you got to do, that's what you got to
You're
do.
boring, yeah.
Yeah, you're
You're
boring.
boring for a
Exactly.
couple
You
years.
are boring as hell, whatever. But the other thing is, you're not making yourself interesting for other people, so to say. You're making yourself interesting so that you can socialize properly, right? Because you're not making yourself interesting by doing things you don't want to do. You're making yourself interesting by doing things that you do want to do. You're like, okay, I literally only, like I mentioned, work, go to the gym, hang out with my nerd friends. How can I make myself more interesting, right? You're not going to pick interests to please other people, right? Get that right. You're picking interests that you are interested in, so that when you meet other people, you're actually hanging out with people you want to be with. You're like, I've always wanted to, join that basketball league or go bowling or, you know, I don't know, go become a tourist or visit this country or whatever. Like, you're gonna pick things you want to do. So you're not pleasing people. You're looking to add more interest to your life in areas of things that you are interested in.
There, it
And
sounds
other
like
people are interested
the
in those
main
things.
message is expanding, like expanding yourself.
It sounds like what?
Main message is expanding yourself, because like even when you use the example of Jordan Peterson, who just buckled down and was writing and ignoring everybody. I mean, hey, I'd find that interesting. Like some people are gonna not find that interesting. Some people are gonna find that interesting. And then
Right.
you use, hey, it's like if you just work and hang out with your nerd friends and work out and stuff, it's like, keep going, keep working, and don't be afraid to expand yourself and step outside of your comfort zone so you can grow and do better. So
Well, that is interesting. I would have loved to have a conversation and hear about how he did that. But the fact of the matter is, he was so busy doing that. Whether he was interesting to me or not, I didn't get to socialize with him, or his family didn't either, because he was locked in a room for 3 hours. So, like,
self
yeah, I mean, even
alignment.
people who work all day, someone's interested in that, but they're so busy working, you don't get to socialize. You cut that aspect out. You don't get to make new friends, and you don't get to meet new perspective relationships. And, like, it depends what you're shooting for. And again, that's where the decision making goes in. That's where the having an opinion goes in. That's where knowing your beliefs comes in, because it's like all those help you figure out the direction you're going. Um, but if you can't make those decisions, you don't know your direction. You become less interesting because you're kind of lost. Like Dan said in the beginning. Daniel pointed out that you're all sitting in the same room. You can't figure out what you want to do, and you're all just mulling about, kind of like, "Yo, dude,
You're useless.
should we get chips, bro? Should we turn on the TV?" Like, right? And someone eventually goes, I'm going home, you know, everybody goes home, like, or
Yeah,
y'all get like whatever, like,
it's useless. It's a waste of time.
yeah.
You know, when you have a direction, you can correct it, even if it's the wrong direction. But make a decision, and like like hanging out with your friends, it's stupid. You know, the decision is okay. What do we do? What are we gonna do together? It's mostly a meaningless decision. Like it doesn't matter that much. Just choose
Right.
something.
Just make one.
And when you start learning and practicing to do that, the better, like the more honestly, the more exciting your life's gonna be. And
And
if you're
even
not
if the
afraid to like
decision,
share your opinions if someone asks you, like the better conversations you're gonna have. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to start practicing decisiveness. I think it's a like a skill, especially in today's world where just so many options. We have so many options nowadays. Um, and it's I think it's debilitated us a lot. And you just got to learn to adapt and combat that and be better at making decisions and limiting your decisions sometimes. I do that with myself all the time. That helps.
even if you feel like the decision is important, you got to separate from the outcome. Like, and you tell yourself the decision is not important to do that sometimes. Sometimes you have to be like, this doesn't matter in the long run. Like, just decide, you know, like I'll
Mhm,
figure out the
mhm.
opposite.
Right. When
But like,
stagnation is
yeah,
the bigger consequence from not making the decision.
there's a quote about stagnation. Gosh, I wish I could remember it, but it's not good, right? Don't stagnate. Make a decision, right? Because, you know, even if that's a big decision, like going to work somewhere, you can quit. You can find another job. You know, like whatever the decision is, stop worrying about the outcomes. Just make a decision, like Daniel's saying. Make a decision. No, you know, formulate an opinion. Don't be afraid to say what your opinion is politely. Politely. Okay. I've seen some people who are like, all right, I won't be afraid to share my opinion. And you have to fucking cram it down your throat while I'm jamming it down your throat. It's like, mm, okay, that's not how we share opinions maturely. But having an opinion is important. We could go into a whole other conversation on how properly sharing your opinion is important too.
Right.
Uh, but ultimately, having all these things helps you understand your beliefs, and it helps make you an interesting person, and it helps you make proper decisions in the future. You know, it helps you realize, okay, I understand where I'm coming from. I understand who I am. I understand what I'm aiming at. That means I have an even easier time making the next decision down the road a lot of times. And Daniel also said, it makes you a more interesting person. You know, you
Whoever work with you, conversate with you.
yeah, you know, you're not just a big ball of hazy gray. You're black on this and white on this. You know, you understand that this is what you want here, and this is what you believe here, and that's what you believe over there. And people could be like, okay, yeah, that's the person to talk to if I want an opinion about this political side, because they understand their opinion of it, even if
Mhm.
they're wrong or whatever.
Exactly. When you just give general answers, people don't know.
Uh,
Oh, this
they're
guy.
like, well, don't go to him for
Right.
advice or
Exactly.
her. Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, you know, when you're an interesting person, people want to be with you. People want to hang out with you. You know, when you can make decisions and have an opinion, people want to hang around you and associate you with, and communicate with you. And when you live an interesting life, right? Now maybe you can't. We had this conversation too. Maybe it's not the time to have an interesting life. It makes you that much more appealing for other people to be around, that much more desirable. That's all I got.
Perfect. Perfect. And remember, sometimes making a decision is the only right decision. And this is when the consequence of stagnation is greater than the decisions themselves.
That's right.
All right, guys.
Peace out, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Peace.